I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and it's part 2 of an epic dogfight smackdown between the Verizon Wireless HTC One and the Motorola Droid Ultra, one of 3 new Droid devices on Verizon. This sucker's been a long time coming. This represents the newest member of the Droid family. Which one's the best? Which one's the must-have? It's part 2, and we're going to find that out together. Part 2 of a dogfight battle with the HTC One and the Motorola Droid Ultra, 2 very popular Android devices on Verizon. The HTC One been out for some time, but finally, after months of waiting, available on the nation's largest wireless carrier. The Droid Ultra is one of the trio of Droid devices that are brand new. The Droid Ultra is the middle device, and it's available for $199, pitting it directly against the $199 price point of the HTC One. It's part 2 of a dogfight battle. But before we get too far into the dogfight battle, I want to give special thanks to our partners at Best Buy Mobile, because thanks to them, we give you free phones at PhoneDog.com. Phones like the HTC One. We actually just gave away one this week. And then, of course, the Motorola Droid Ultra, thanks to them. Go play the game on the site, but when you walk into Best Buy Mobile, they'll make sure you're set up and ready to go and walking out working, be it your contacts, your camera, your call settings, Facebook, American, Gmail. They'll make sure everything's set up, downloaded, rocking and rolling, so when you walk out the door, you're good to go. Let's jump right into part 2 here, and we'll talk more about the software just to start out. So you can see these are running very different versions of Android. Actually, they're running the same version of Android, but very different experiences as a whole. You've got Sense 5 running over here, HTC's latest iteration of their Sense user interface, and you've got a pretty stock build of Android 4.2 over on the Motorola Droid Ultra. Motorola's pared it back and pared it back and pared it back over the years, and with the acquisition of Google, or I should say the Google acquisition of Motorola, said that backwards. Google acquisition of Motorola, you see even more of a pared back experience, almost to the point of being stock over on this device. Over here, Sense 5, even people that haven't liked Sense in previous years are ranting and raving about Sense 5. A lot of people like it. It continues to be incredibly fast, this device. It works well with it. It's integrated well. And you can see that even though this is running a skin, if you will, or a custom user interface, this phone continues to be fast all around. So you can see here, Sense 5, let's take a look between Sense 5 and stock Android to see some of the differences. And I talked about some in part 1, but I just want to go through and briefly show you some of the overall look and feel differences between the two. So you can see here you've got the settings, and you've got quick settings here, and the notification bar. You can see how those look different. HTC's kind of put their own spin on this, as you can tell. And then on the Droid Ultra side, very much stock Android with the Google Plus profile right here. And let's go into settings and take a look at how those differ. So you can see pretty organized, or organized by kind of similar stuff here: personal, device, accounts, as you can see, and then system down here at the bottom. Not too different there, but where you do differ between these two devices, you'll notice that if you like this, and people either love it or hate it, you've got the ability to add widgets from the home screen on Android 4.2. I don't care for that. I think it's kind of pointless. I would prefer to keep it as clean and uncluttered as possible, but some people do like that. So we'll go into customize. Actually, I take that back. We'll go back. Forgive me here, settings, we'll go down into personalization, we'll go into lock screen style and change the lock screen from wallpaper to widget. And I can come in here to settings, and I can see the widgets that I can select. Now, obviously this will increase as you download applications. For example, CNN wasn't there out of the box. I downloaded CNN and the widget's now available, but HTC takes a little bit more of a conservative approach with their widgets versus Android, which kind of allows you to put whatever you want. I'll show you here just for example into it. So you've got a couple of different options here on stock Android, whereas over here, kind of restricted to Gmail, a couple of different things. So I'll put in a Gmail widget just so you can see the difference here. We'll do it on the Droid Ultra as well. I don't know why it's taking so long to sync, but you can see here the widget, and we'll turn it off and back on. And then you can see right over there, there is Gmail. And let's see if I can get this configured again. Let's try this one more time. I don't know why it's taking so long. This email account's been synced for some time, but it sits right there on the lock screen, as you can see, where it would be right there along with your shortcuts down here at the bottom, and you just swipe up the lock to unlock. Let's do a quick quadrant standard test and take a look at the speeds on both of these devices. Quadrant standard, and again, take this with a grain of salt. It's always indicative, or not always indicative rather, of day-to-day performance on these two devices, but I will say both of these devices are incredibly fast. Now, a lot of people have looked at the Droid Ultra specs and they've said something like, oh, dual-core processor, this thing's got to be incredibly slow. Well, with Motorola's X8 architecture, this thing continues to be fast, so even if the quadrant standard score comes in underneath the HTC One, I would highly recommend both of these for day-to-day use. I would personally carry both of these for day-to-day use if I needed a spare Verizon phone. They're both incredibly fast, and even having a quad-core processor, I don't see a real speed difference in day-to-day tasks on either one of these devices. Now, kind of going back to part 1 and talking about some of the pros and cons here, smaller display here, but 1080p, 4.7 1080p HD display, pixels per inch are great here, 5-inch display, and you just saw it there for a second when the animation was running on the same screen. Bigger display here, AMOLED 720p. So lower pixels, go ahead and hit yes on both of these. 8,816 versus 12,306 over on the HTC One. So in quadrant standard, HTC One wins. But back to what I was talking about with the display. Bigger display over here, so for content consumption, YouTube, you're watching other videos, for example, or streaming something, you're gonna have a better experience display size-wise over on the Droid Ultra. Overall quality and color saturation, you're probably gonna have a better experience on the HTC One. It is a beautiful display. For me personally, 5 inches is a sweet spot. So I actually like the display on the Galaxy S4 because of the 1080p 5-inch HD display. But love this overall look and feel of this device. Sense 5 is fantastic, and even if the display is a little bit on the small side, comparatively speaking, you get a really nice rich color experience. We'll take a look at speed test here as well. Both of these running Verizon 4G LTE. Just a quick overview, Verizon promises download speeds of 5 to 12 megabits per second and upload speeds of 2 to 5 megabits per second. I've seen it much faster in the Dallas metro area. I've seen it slower in some cases, but it usually falls right within that 5 to 12 megabit count, as you can see right here. One is running at about 5.1. Droid Ultra running right now at about 8.4. So much faster, actually pretty significantly faster than the HTC One. So 8.65 megabits per second over here, 5.54 megabits per second over on the HTC One. Now just one other thing I wanted to point out about the display. AMOLED display over here, a standard display over here, 1080p HD display over here. Colors on this device are very much AMOLED-y, if you will. If you worked with an AMOLED device display in any time in the past, you know how the colors differ from a standard LCD or at different display technologies. Like for example, I'm looking at it right now in the speed test, and the camera may not show you this accurately, but this is like absurdly green, and this is absurdly aqua, whereas over here the colors are a little bit more, not washed out, but maybe more realistic. Over here it's like green or turquoise staring at you in the face. So colors are very vibrant over here, and they look good, but in a lot of cases they're a little bit to the point where it's like holy color saturation Batman, whereas over here you've got a little bit more of a realistic picture of the images or of the color quality. Let's take a look at the cameras here. 4 ultra pixel camera, which is essentially 4 megapixels over here, 10 megapixel camera over here. Most people look at that and say, 4 megapixels, how in the world does that take a decent image? Well, HTC's done an incredible job here getting this camera up to par. I love the camera on the HTC One. I think it's fantastic. That's an area that needs improvement on the Droid Ultra. It's very similar to the camera on the Moto X, which is 10 megapixels as well. And I see some issues with the Moto X on a pretty regular basis. But let's pull over something here from my desk to take a picture of, just to show you kind of a sample. You know what, we'll use a SIM card. So I want to focus in on the text on the SIM card. So I can focus in here, I can tap, I can see the numbers, and I can snap my images here. And then from there I can change the colors on the actual display, as you can see, change it to grayscale, change the color effects right here. Now over here I don't have a physical camera button, and then it zooms in on its own. So when I click the display, it takes the picture, as you can see right there. And I can go from the live display or live camera, and I can edit the pictures after they've been taken. So for example, here I can go in and edit the picture and select, for example, black and white if I want to. I can crop it around. So you do have some editing options on the Droid Ultra, but they're all after the fact. Over here, I can come in before the picture's taken and change, for example, to negative if I wanted to. Picture's still running, hasn't been taken yet. Camera's still running, I should say, hasn't been taken yet. And I can snap it. Now, there are cool opportunities here on the HTC One. One of my personal favorites. That's hard to say. Say one and one back to back. But anyway, one of my personal favorites is HTC Zoe, which takes a quick 3-second video snippet. Now, you're asking yourself, if you don't know what Zoe and what the highlight reel does, you're like, why would I take a 3-second video? That seems pretty useless. Well, let's say you're at a wedding. Let's say you're at a wedding or a party or something of that nature. You take a combination all throughout the day or all throughout the night of Zoe's, and you can see it taking the Zoe right there, and it'll capture the sound as well. You take a combination of pictures, a combination of Zoe's throughout the day, and then you get an event in your gallery. So we'll snap a bunch of pictures here. We'll just move it around the display. I'll take a couple of keyboard pictures, take a couple pictures of my desk, move around here, take a picture of my Diet Snapple, and then I'll go in here to gallery, for example, and you can see, boom, there's my gallery. I'll come in here and say Dallas, Texas from August 29th, which is today. So you're going to see the Zoe's moving here, and I can come up here to what's called a highlight reel, and you're going to see the highlight reel running. And this is something that's on the device side. You have to do nothing to edit this, and you can change the editing around if you want to, from let's say, Vega to Eiffel or Avalon if you want to. And it'll change the editing slightly. And from here you can share this little snippet, which is really cool for social media, really cool to send to your family, etc. Like this feature a lot, and again, this is nothing you have to do on your end. It comes out of the box on the HTC One. Another thing I want to talk about at the $199 price point, storage. No micro SD card slot in either one of these devices. You have 32 gigabytes over on the HTC One. And then over here, we'll jump down so you can see it for yourself. Go into settings, and we'll go down to storage. You only have 16 gigabytes of storage on the Droid Ultra with no opportunities to expand that out. So we'll go down here to storage as well. 32 gigabytes on the HTC One, roughly 8-ish megabytes taken. Over here, you've only got 9 gigabytes available for whatever you want, mostly once you download it out of the box. Granted, I've downloaded some applications, so that number is not fresh out of the box, but about 9.75 gigabytes over here. You got 24 gigabytes over here available. So compare that, again, at the same price point, and I think you may have a decision to make. Both of these devices are awesome all around. There's a lot to offer here, and again, like anything else in the mobile space, it's going to depend on what's most important to you. I'll tell you the pros and cons of both of these devices. Pros here, beautiful metal build quality. This phone is beautiful to hold in the hand. I love the way it feels. The curved back makes it really easy to hold on long phone calls. Boom sound, which we weren't even able to cover due to time constraints, is great on this device. And every time I look at it, I think to myself, why doesn't everybody else put their speakers on the front so when I'm watching a video, the sound comes out at me versus behind the device? Great stuff there, incredibly fast here, really works well with Sense 5. Zoe's awesome. The downside, a little bit of a smaller display, and really, honestly, that's the only thing I can think of comparatively speaking between these two devices. You got the Droid Ultra over here, love the size of the display. Downside, camera's not as good. You only got 16 gigabytes of internal storage with no opportunity for expansion. That said, I think you know who the winner of the dogfight is. The winner of the dogfight is the HTC One. I like both of these devices. Like I said in the beginning, I would carry both. The HTC One wins in this dogfight battle. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for more. I'm on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron, and I'm on Facebook at Facebook.com/HiAaronBaker. Let me know which one you think should win. If you have one, you love it. You have one, you hate it, you wish you'd gotten the other one or waited. Maybe you have the Galaxy S4 and you want the HTC One. Whatever the case is, reach out to me on social media and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for watching. Keep it locked here for more dogfights in the coming days. And as always, I'll see you next time.